All right, good evening, everyone. Today is March 9th, 2021. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to see another day. Thank you, God, for this show. We thank you, God, for the viewers. We thank you, God, for the guests as well. We ask you, God, that you will bless our conversation and that you will help the viewers as well as their families as we talk about tonight's subject. And we shout out and give a big thanks to all our teachers out there. We ask you, God, that you just bless us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, we're gonna be bigging up our teachers tonight. I want to give a birthday shout out to my man Jerome McLean. Happy born day, bro, today. Um, and as well as my nephew RJ. Shout out, happy born day, bro. Um, and everybody else that celebrated birthdays over the weekend. Continue to celebrate, continue to enjoy life one day at a time, and continue to do your thing. Um, with that being said, okay, and along with the birthdays, it's not necessarily a birthday, but I want to give a heartfelt shout out to my fellow comrades in hip hop. 24 years ago today, we lost the Christopher, the notorious B.I.G. Wallace. So we celebrate the anniversary of the day that he was slain and taken from us. Shout out to Big, man. Thanks for all the music. One of my personal favorites of all time. I won't never necessarily say he the greatest because of the body of work, but shout out to Biggie Smalls, man. With that being said, like I said, we're gonna be talking about education tonight. We're gonna be bigging up our teachers. I'm excited about the panel because here it is. We're almost a year in, and hey, I'm still going strong. You guys are still supporting me, so I want to thank you guys for that. But this show right here, this tonight's panel is actually pretty much this return guest from our very second show. We talked about the show. That particular second show was about education then, and that's when the pandemic first started back in last March. And we were talking about the transition of things to come. And here it is that we're like a school year later. So I thought it would be cool to have the teachers back on, talk about things that we talked about the last show, see the progress and the strides that we're making, as well as if any of you viewers out there, you have any questions or comments or support for the panel, feel free to put those in the comments. And so with that being said, tonight on the panel, we have Mr. Leonard Salahud Din from the Maryland area. We have NyKia Tucker, who's also as well as a teacher. We have my cousin Bobby Akkbar, Principal Dr. Ed Wilson will probably be joining us again later on, as well as Ms. Shana Willis. And last but certainly not least, my man, my dog, one of my teachers. Happy that he's still doing what he's doing, Mr. Neil Pallotta. How everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Good.
Doing good.
So welcome, Kia. You're new to the panel. Like I said, those are some of the things that we covered last year coming into this here. And I wrote down a couple of things because I watched the playback of that show earlier today. And I want to big up and I want to thank you guys again because like watching the show back again, it was very, very informative. And you guys bounced off each other well, one another. I just thank you guys for taking out the time to do that. And here it is, we revisit it again. With that being said, since you're new to the panel, kid, and you're the lady, we'll start ladies first. How has it been? You can tell the people who you are, what it is that you teach, what grade, and how has it been going from as we said on the last show, brick and mortar to the online situation as far as teaching.
So, hello, everyone. My name is NyKia Tucker. I am a fourth year teacher in Prince George's County, Maryland, and I teach the first grade. Going into the pandemic, I was so excited that we did not have school. We didn't have to go return to the building. And I said, just a couple of weeks, we can work from home. This is going to be great. And then a year later, and we're still on the computer. It's been a real struggle for me personally, since I do teach the first grade. I have 6 and 7 year olds. So it's very hard for me to connect with them. It's very hard for me to make sure they're comprehending the work. staying on task and, stepping back and letting the parents do their job and then letting the parents step back and let me do my job. So it's been hard trying to find the balance between the parent-teacher relationships as well as the student-to-student relationships.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we go further, is anybody actually back in the building right now as far as teaching? Neil, you're back in the building? You as well, Al?
Yeah, I'm just getting ready to transition back in this month.
Okay, and how does that work as far as scheduling? How are you guys that are back in the building? What's going on with that?
So what we're doing in my county is it's like a slow roll in. So we're not bringing everybody back at the same time. So in terms of the students, they're really focusing on the students, of special education students who probably need more supports, educational, instructional wise. So they're going to bring them back in first this month. And then our spring break occurs around the end of this month. So post spring break, after that in April, they're going to gradually bring in each grade level bi-weekly, like every 2 weeks. They'll bring in seniors, then they'll bring in the 10th graders, then they'll bring in another group until everybody's back. But this is only kids who opted in for in-person instruction. There's still a substantial amount of kids whose families wanted them to stay virtual. So that means for teachers, we'll all be back in the building. Everybody will officially be back in some capacity between this month and next month. And we'll be on what they call a hybrid model, where we'll be, as I said, teaching some kids that are still virtual, and then there'll be a small group of kids in front of us. So that's where we're going.
But there in the state of Maryland, it is optional whether you do virtual or it's not mandatory that you have to go back in the building if they open up the schools. Okay.
Correct. And even some of our teachers are going to still be teaching virtual because they got federal accommodations based on an illness that's pertaining to them individually that allows them to stay home and teach virtually. So some of them will be doing that for the remainder of the school year too.
Okay. All right. And what is it like for you there in Jersey, Neil?
Well, in Jersey, seems like it kind of breaks down along party lines. Red districts, they have, kids are in school. Kids have been in school since September. In a lot of, in a lot of what I would call red districts. I teach in Sussex County, New Jersey, which is, red district. So, we've been in a hybrid model since September. So our hybrid model allows kids to choose whether to be in person or at home virtually. And, right now we have I'd say about 60% of the kids come to school each day. And probably, and the other 40% are virtual only. It's funny that, where I am, we're in school, but there are plenty of other districts. I know when Ed comes on Montclair, they've been virtual all year. A lot, Newark's been virtual all year. There are a lot of districts in New Jersey that haven't even seen a classroom yet. We were in person September and October. Once we got to November and the holidays, we went virtual only for, mid-November through December. And then, maybe first, second week in January. Then mid-January went back to, the hybrid schedule where we were, some kids in person, some at home. But that only lasted a few days. And then there were, I guess, too many cases, contact tracing was tough. So we were virtual only from maybe mid-January through most of February. And then maybe the last 4 weeks we've been, in person with the hybrid schedule again. So it's really been a lot of back and forth in school, out of school, virtual. It's really been tough for the kids and tough for teachers.
All right, what about you, Bob?
My situation, my district, Plainfield, I'm also in New Jersey, Mr. Neal. And, our situation.
Hey, start over, Bob. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
Barely?
Yeah.
Hopefully you can hear me as I continue to talk. I'm not sure what's going on. I was just on this with my students.
Can anyone else hear?
No.
It's the volume is really low.
Okay.
This happens at times.
I think he said he's gonna go off and come back in. Okay. Cool deal. Growing up in church, you learn how to read lips. So wait, as far as you said with you kid is you said you teach what, first grade, correct?
Yes, I teach the first grade.
Okay, so like talk about that, the challenges of that. Do you see how do you see it as being how can I tell, like a short-term problem that you guys will be able to get on the same page eventually, or do you find it more difficult than, are you more optimistic or pessimistic about the whole thing?
I mean, I'm always optimistic, but definitely the learning gap is widening with my students because of the fact that we're virtual. So I have students who come in below grade level, and I have students who haven't made any progress or little progress, and it's March. They should have at least gone up, a couple grade levels or so. And it's hard to really reach those students because, we are on the computer. Like I said earlier, they don't have someone sitting there with them, making sure that they're on task. Who knows? I have students with the remote in their hand watching TV. I have students showing off their toy collection. And no matter what, I can say, put your toys down. It's time to do this, time to do that. It's only so much. I can't keep, interrupting my lesson to discipline students or tell students what they should or should not be doing. So there definitely is a learning gap that is getting bigger and bigger. And like Mr. Leonard said, we are returning to school. I actually have to go back next week, and my students return at the end of April. It is optional for them as well. So I have a meeting with my parents next week, and I'm going to explain to them and really hopefully that they see the importance of the hybrid learning. It's only 2 days out of the week. So I hope they use that to their advantage. There are a lot of things that the students just can't grasp on the computer, and especially their young age, middle school and high school. Even with the curriculum in Prince George's County, when they made this hybrid, virtual learning curriculum, I feel like it was focused towards middle school and high school students. The way they have the classes set up, they don't have breaks. And that's another thing with first grade. They lack that social interaction. Students need time to have that break in between classes, a mental break to just talk about random things. It doesn't have to be about academics all the time. Mm-hmm. And one thing I want to stress to my parents, my school hours are from 7:30 to 2 o'clock. Students aren't learning constantly from 7:30 to 2 o'clock. And the fact that we're virtual now, they're going from class to class. And even in the building, walking from one class to the next in the hallway is a mental break. They don't have that anymore. They have, a couple minutes to go get a drink of water or something like that. So definitely it is a problem. And hopefully that when the students return, we can work with them this last quarter to help them prepare them for the next school year.
All right, let's see what you sound like now, Bobby. You there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you good to go now, bro.
There we go. Much better. It goes in and out, especially, you've been dealing with the virtual world, all year, that you have bumps and bruises. Mm-hmm. But what I was saying is that, just like Mr. Neal, I'm from New Jersey, and our district is a little different in what Mr. Neal district has been going through. Very similar to like Mr. Leonard. We started off in a hybrid model with staff and students attending school. And within 2 weeks, the COVID cases started to rise within the city, and we closed the schools down for both staff and students. We went virtual for a month or so, and then we opened it up for teachers. But those teachers that had childcare issues, like myself, was able to stay home and teach remotely. So we are just going back to a hybrid model again, where teachers go back, all teachers, except for those with 504, like Mr. Leonard was saying, return back on Monday. So it'll be interesting to see, the teachers that have been going back over the last month, a lot of cases over the last 2 weeks So I'll be curious to see how long that we actually stay within the school. Our students return a week after spring break, which is like April 19th, somewhere around then, where our students return to a hybrid model. They were asked and polled last week about if they will return or not. And about 15% of our students are going to be returning back to the classroom. So that's 85% that will remain virtual. So I'm not sure where we are going to go. If we're going to continue to be in a so-called hybrid model, or are we going to go all remote? I know our union is fighting for us to remain closed because of the spikes already that's happening within the schools. So, I'll be curious to see, the next couple of weeks what happens.
Mm-hmm. And where you at now, Bob? Where you teaching at now?
I'm in Plainfield, New Jersey. I'm the math coach in Plainfield, New Jersey.
Okay.
My boy's the assistant superintendent there, Mark Williams.
That's my boy. he was out when I was a classroom teacher. He was the principal at the school that I was at. Actually, I just spoke to him earlier today. We were supposed to be grabbing a couple of cigars and having a little.
That's hysterical.
Yes.
I taught with Mark at George Washington Carver in Newark.
Oh, okay.
And when Mark first started, when he was not big boy. So yeah, tell him Pallotta said hello.
I definitely will. Yeah, small world. I used to teach in Newark too. I taught at Chancellor Ave for a couple of years, and then I transferred over to 13th Ave.
All right.
And I was over there, and so I was over there for a couple of days. I loved it over there. I actually missed those days. I miss the kids. I miss the whole adventures. It's a different world than where I'm at now, but I just miss those days.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, and also too, the difference there with a district like North is that the staff. It seemed like the staff is family there, because of all the battles you're going through. Not just with inside the classroom, but outside the classroom, and dealing with administrators and just the North system. But it just seemed like it was family, everybody.
Gotcha. Hey, we got a question from one of our top viewers. Jennifer said, shout out to 13th Ave too. That's where Jennifer went.
Hey.
One of our top viewers, Beverly Bergman Tucker, says, I wonder why is it necessary to return to school this late in the year? Why not wait until the fall? What do you got? Some of you guys take on that?
I mean, for me personally, I agree with that. And this week would make a full year. We've been out of school, like out of the classroom in-person instruction. I think by us coming back this late, and really when you think about it time-wise, it's just a marking period. This is having a lot of residual effects in a lot of different ways. It's affecting a lot of people's lives where they now have to uproot their life, their family life, and figure things out. There's people that have childcare issues that can't leave their kids at home. So now they're complex. I have to go back to work, but I don't have childcare. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to use up the rest of my leave for the rest of the year? How am I dealing with that? I have an alien parent at home and I haven't been vaccinated yet. I don't want to put my parent or whomever my loved one that is at risk. I don't want to put them in that situation. I mean, there's so many different situations going on. And I get with some of our kids, like they need to be back around people and that's in those surroundings. I just don't know if this is the right time to do this. I mean, I don't know if it would just be better off we start fresh off in the fall. This gives school system time to plan properly, because I think a lot of school systems have been doing the scramble mode this whole year, and it shows as the results of what's been going on and what's been rolled out. I just don't know if it's been the right time to do it yet.
Yeah. I definitely don't think it's smart myself. I'm not a teacher or on the board or anything like that there, but I again, at this point in the school year, I don't understand why would we do this now versus just waiting till we have more data We have more safety protocols put in place. So for the safety of the children, you know what I mean? We're not talking about professional football or basketball where grown adults are making a decision to go into a game. But I feel like the adults need to step in this type of situation and do what's best for the children's welfare and health.
Yeah, but Marv, there's so much political pressure, you know, against teachers. You know, if you watch Fox News, you know, they're railing against teachers every day. You know, and you know, honestly, up here in Sussex County, there's just just the pressure from the parents to get the kids, you know, back in school. Those parents do not want those kids at home, you know. So, my son who goes to a Catholic school, high school, he's 17. They've been full day in person all year long since September.
Wow.
Full day. Cafeteria, all the kids eating in the cafeteria, no masks. And this is New Jersey, which is, I understand if that's Florida, but this is New Jersey. But they can get away with it because it's Sussex County, it's Sparta, that's just the climate that exists, in this area or in that area. And, so, where I am, there was in Sussex County, our superintendent where I work in Appakon, New Jersey, they sent out a press release touting the fact that I guess about a month ago, all schools in Sussex County, every school were in-person schools, were in person, and they were, that's something to, pat themselves on the back, for. Now, you can make an argument, make your arguments one way or another. It is what it is. People say, well, there is no harm to students. Students, they're not negatively impacted. They're not going to be harmed. It's more the staff, that's, concerned about catching COVID. And, more importantly, it's the students' families. We've had numerous cases, of kids that test positive, numerous, but they're fine, and most of the time they're, asymptomatic. It's the families though, the parents of these kids that, get sick, the parents that are hospitalized, it's, staff that's hospitalized. And, just quite honestly, because of the way the light, in which, teachers are seen in a lot of areas, the community doesn't care that the staff is, nervous or afraid. If they feel their kids aren't going to be negatively impacted, health-wise, they feel that the benefit of being in school outweighs the risk for their kids.
That's crazy. Hey, and while you talking there, like I said earlier, I watched the playback. I knew you guys were gonna be on, so I watched the playback from the very second episode that you guys was on. And Neil, you spoke about witnessing children, some of the students picking up grapes off the floor so that they could have later to eat.
So that was at Carver. That was when I worked at North. That's not up here.
Yeah. And then Bobby, you talked about when you would bring you would say the French toast sticks for the student and things of that nature there. I kind of want to know, has anything been done from I don't know, from the board or whatever the case may be, for kids that were like that? You know what I mean? Like that's the only time they got to get a meal was when they came to school. So now that everything is done virtually, now they're stuck in the house with no food in that particular house. Like, has that issue been addressed in those areas?
Well, I know in my district, we give out breakfast as well as lunch every day for any family, whether they are free lunch or not. Okay. So that opportunity is there, as well as snacks for them. I know that they were talking about, we just got approved for dinners for families. So, those are some things that's always been in place since we went virtual. So nothing has changed. Kids are still provided, those meals. All they got to do is come to the school. There's a location that they go to, and everything gets handed to them all at once. All the meals get handed all at once. So there's no need to come back for lunch, no need to come back for snack. Everything is handed at once. And sometimes, if we know that it's going to be inclement weather, we give multiple days where, meals are given out at once.
Okay.
So, it's totally different now. I mean, we're talking years ago, almost 10 years ago, when I was working in North, where, now I think that issue is not as relevant as it was, back then.
Okay. All right. Hey, a question that somebody else asked too. Jennifer asked, she said, "What do you guys think about Texas going completely open and wearing no mask? What you guys take on that?"
I'm glad I live in New Jersey.
Same here. Listen, NyKia's face said it all. Once you asked that, it said it all.
Yeah, because I want to say, what other state was it? Also Mississippi as well, correct?
Yeah, Mississippi, and it's another southern state. I don't know if it's Alabama, Arkansas, one of the two.
I think it's Alabama.
Alabama,
Okay.
yeah, I know it's the third one.
Great minds think alike. Rochelle asked the question that I was getting ready to ask you guys next. Now, she asked, "Are you guys considering taking the COVID vaccine?" My question was, is it mandatory as teachers or professionals to go? Is it mandatory to take the vaccinated shot to get back into school?
It's not mandatory for our county. I have a lot of my staff decided to take the vaccine. Me personally, I'm scared. This is still the trial period, So what about, they have all these short-term effects and all, but what about the long-term effects? We don't know what's going to happen in a year or two from now by taking this vaccine. So I'm very nervous about it. And I feel like this entire time I've kept my immune system up. I've been taking care of myself, and I'm going to continue on doing that so that I can stay as healthy as I can, because I really do not want to get the vaccine. I don't like needles, period. I'm very scared of getting shot. So the vaccine is not on my agenda.
I know, Marv, I took the vaccine. I'm fully vaccinated. In New Jersey, they've just prioritized teachers. But it's not mandatory, for teachers to get it. And, once again, a lot of that, it depends on your politics very often. Some people, they're going to get it, whereas others just, refuse to get it. I'm not one who, I'm not one who gets a flu shot every year or anything like that. But, I had I guess a 504 to work virtually for a lot of the year. So, when we were in person, I was teaching virtually up until, I guess, the beginning, up until the end of February, I was teaching virtually, even when my students were in school. So they would have like a substitute, in the class, babysitting, the kids, making sure they're on their Chromebooks when I would teach. But and I had that because of, being a cancer survivor and, having gone through chemotherapy and blah, blah, blah. I just, wanted to be cautious. So as soon as the vaccine was made available, I wanted to get back into the classroom. So to, feel safe about doing that, I rolled the dice and took the vaccine. I kind of joke around with my family and say, hey, I got plenty of life insurance. If that vaccine kills me, it is what it is. My family would be well off. So, I'm not worried about it.
Nah, we want you to stay with us, man. And don't grow a third leg in the process.
Hey, it'll be all right. They'll be well off then too. Then we sue the companies, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Miss Principal Dr. Wilson, welcome to the show, bro.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Not much, man. We kind of just catching up on where we left off last year with all this being a new thing, and kind of where we at now. And being that you're in the front office, you're a principal now. One of the questions I have for you was, as I watched the last show, you talked about equity. The word equity was brought up quite a bit on that particular show. So I wanted to ask you, in terms of equity, has already underfunded schools taken a hit more so now during the pandemic, like like with pro sports. That's why they trying to get back on getting people back in, because they took a big hit as far as that bringing in that money.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that is the same thing in terms of that as far as the educational system?
Well, just to kind of that's a loaded question, but just to kind of distinguish,
definitely is
right. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But just to kind of distinguish the two in terms of pro sports, I think you have to look at that. I think you have to look at education from a different lens, from the perspective that you're with pro sports, you're talking about billionaires, millionaires, if not billionaires, who owns, these sports teams. And at the end of the day, the bottom line is making sure that the athlete is in optimal physical health, and that equates with their revenue. So in that sense, so you're dealing with that. I think with education, the question of equity has always been there, and it's not like a fad or a cliche, even though sometimes it comes and goes. But I think with the pandemic, it's really exacerbated a lot of the issues that a lot of us who work in education have seen or knew about already, but it's now being exposed to a greater magnitude because of the pandemic. So it's kind of like a gift and a curse, so to speak. I mean, we don't want anyone to be sick or, to catch COVID or anything like that. But because of COVID, you kind of see a lot of the issues that educators across the country have been dealing with for years and been saying these things for years. But, like I said, now everyone's finally starting to see from an equity standpoint what those issues are.
Okay. All right. And another real quick, while you talking there, another question that I have for you real quick was, like with me in the workforce era, when I worked at the airlines, it was one thing to be a regular ramp agent.
Mm-hmm.
Then I bumped up to a lead and
Mm-hmm.
became a lead. So you kind of like in management. Like, do you find that difficult when you go from being a peer as a teacher to playing by a different set of rules as a principal? Do you do that? Is it just as difficult in education as it is like in a regular workplace?
I would say so. I would think that it is very hard. I can tell you from my own experience, and thankfully I had the common sense never to do this, and I'm sure Neil, as well as the other panelists, can attest to it. I would never have want to have been an administrator in the building where I was actually once a teacher, because you have those relationships with folks, you have those conversations about, what you would do or what needs to happen, so on and so forth. But then when you become an administrator in that very same building where you used to teach, and the conversations, you've heard the conversations, whether you were part of them or not, you hear it, but now you have to pretty much enforce policies, rules, or kind of be that person's supervisor or boss, so to speak. It becomes a totally different conversation, because people may not respect that boundary. They were like, "Oh, well, you was just here last week talking the same thing. Now you like," you know what I'm saying? And so I think that it depends on the individual. Like I said, fortunately, I've been fortunate enough in my career to really go to different districts, so to speak. Not that I've been in a whole lot of districts, I've only been in 3 districts, which is a good thing. But I've been able to get different perspectives of different cultures and, different buildings in different districts. So, but like I said, to answer your question, I do think that it becomes a little more challenging to be the administrator or the boss, so to speak, where you used to teach coming out of the classroom and going to administration. So I do think there's a lot of similarities with that.
Okay. Right. Now, Bob, as far as athletics up that way, I see that they finished the whole high school season and everything else. Has it been difficult as far as the coaching and players and, as far as safety protocol? Or are the coaches nervous? Are the players nervous? Is it like, you know what I mean? Are you playing with an extra, it's like an extra defender on the field, so to speak?
I think it's a little different where, there are safety protocols in place. I know a lot of schools, it's basketball season now, was toward the end of the basketball season. But a lot of things were in place where a lot of schools didn't even allow their teams or high schools to even participate. So it was very limited, well, I can say limited, but, a lot of teams opted out of playing, specific sports, some football, some opted not to play. Like, for example, Carteret, which is, a smaller school powerhouse in the state of New Jersey, is known for football, but opted not to play football in the fall. So, a lot of schools had to make that decision. And, based on what they felt about what was going on, they, either let the kids play or didn't let them play. I think now we're allowing like 15% or 25% of fans into these games now, but I'm sure safety protocols going in because there's safety protocols for the players.
Yeah. So it's working out though.
So far, so good.
Okay.
Things are still in place. I know, like, for example, the Union County basketball tournament is happening.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see, which teams are actually going to participate. Because I think it was one team that opted out that I read. Just it'd be interested to see.
Now, are the basketball players wearing masks there?
I'm gonna say no, because I know just my hometown, the Rawway, just watching them play, they don't wear them. But I saw something on the news where I know there's other teams that, do wear masks even during practice. So it all depends on the school.
Got you. Yeah, because here in the state of North Carolina, it's mandatory. And my man, his son was a senior this year. So they played the whole basketball season, but I can't lie, like, it tripped me out as a former athlete to imagine having to play a whole basketball game with a mask on.
Yeah, but you get used to it. That's like anybody who never played football before. You put that helmet on, first couple of days it'll be tough, but then it becomes natural, it becomes normal. Same thing with the mask, so, I just go back and I was looking at, CBS, and they were interviewing a school in upstate New Jersey, and, they were practicing, but their protocols that everybody, coaches, anybody that entered the gym had to have a mask on and couldn't take it off.
Mm-hmm. And what was
Can I
this?
Just comment on something that's kind of funny, Marv?
Mm-hmm.
Here's a little truth to this story about the athletics. Coaches are telling their kids, don't get tested under any circumstances. Trump lied about a lot of things, but he told the truth that if there's no testing, there's no cases. So these coaches just tell them, you don't get tested under any circumstances during the season. That's the truth.
That sounds about right.
That's what's going down.
Yep, because they know there is no coming back.
Right.
Imagine Michael Jordan getting tested and couldn't come back.
Right.
So, yeah. So I could definitely see that. I definitely know that that's a true scenario. L, so what is what's some of the challenges for you, L, as far as going forward?
Well, for me, like, I wear two hats. In my county, they call it a resource teacher, which some other districts call it a department chairperson. They run a department. So I'm in charge of the math department at my school building. This is my 4th year in that role. So I'm looking at it from 2 vantage points because I still teach classes. But like I was saying earlier, it's a challenge for now that we're getting ready to transition back into the building after being virtual for a full year. And, each jurisdiction down here in Maryland is different on how they're operating and running things to have their kids stay hybrid or versus stay virtual. For me, I'm finding it's challenging where I have some teachers who are having serious issues, like I was saying earlier, contemplating that. And like, what do they do? And then if they have a situation where they can't come back for a legitimate reason, now the responsibility basically falls on me. I have to now figure out a sub to cover this class, right? And last time I checked, all the subs are 60 and up, and the likelihood they want to come in the building is 0, right? The likelihood they've already been vaccinated is 0. So it's and there's not a lot of out there to pick from. So these are some of the issues. And then just with the students, I always found myself, this is my 22nd year teaching, my 20th year at the school that I'm at. And I've always found myself to be an empathetic person. to a degree, right, in certain situations. But I find some of the situations the kids have gone through, it's like it makes you really stop and pause and think. And I look back to when we talked about this, like you said, back in June. We didn't know what we were doing. Like, we were just thrown in this situation and we were just making it work as we went along. Fast forward now, I know how to do Nearpod, Pear Deck, Desmos, Zoom.
Yes.
Like, my
Yes.
teachers are experts and they're
Yes.
doing it well. Like, I go in and I watch their classes and they're doing it flawlessly, like they've been doing it all their life, but they just learned how to do it this year. So you can't tell me teachers can't step up to the plate and be resilient. And when I hear people say things about, like, us last spring, we were being praised. If you recall in the news, everybody was sympathetic to teachers. Oh, teachers, I can't. Oh, you do just. And now a year later, we're on the other side of the spectrum again. So it's like, for me, I take it all with a grain of salt. I mean, I realized the bigger picture, like Mr. Pallotta was saying earlier, it's politics at the end of the day. Those that have the loudest voices and scream the loudest in the playground get their way. And essentially, that's how I'm seeing why we're going back into the building, where it makes perfect sense. Like the person you were reading from the feed earlier said, why are we coming back so early? Why couldn't we just wait and let people figure things out, get situations in order, and then do it right in the fall, instead of rushing a process that doesn't really need to be rushed?
And like she said, also, she had another comment on there that I totally agree with. My heart really goes out to you guys as well as the students, because here it is, you're transitioning back in, and guess what? As soon as you get acclimated to this new thing, boom, now it's spring break.
Right.
So it's like, really, what sense does it make if it's not at least half a school year, 2 semesters, what to speak, but for 1 semester? I just don't understand it. Like you said, Neil, but we don't have to understand it. It's the politics that's behind it. Is the beast behind the machine that's making it go.
And the scary part is too, like Mr. Leonard was saying, the scary part is, I run an after school program for our district, and today was our first nice day, 60 degrees. So normally we have close to, 180 to 200 kids that log on. Today, we only probably had about 30, 35 kids log on. Wow. So just imagine when we get to spring break, kids are outside. They're going to be around other people, and that's the big scare in our district. If our kids are coming back, right after spring break, we're not even giving them time. Even if they just local, we ain't talking about the kids that's traveling for spring break, but the kids that are local, we're not even giving them time to quarantine. And that's the scary part. And that's what our union is fighting with our district, is that, the dates should be switched. So there is some quarantine time for the kids. They're going to be outside. We want them to go outside. I mean, we are pushing our kids at least a half hour outside, walk around the backyard, sit outside your porch. They need that vitamin D. So, it's very important that they be outside. So just imagine, like I said, when the weather really, really break and we really get that spring weather. So it's been a long winter, long winter in New Jersey. So
Beverly also says the roles are changing. What about pay? Simultaneously teaching virtually versus hybrid. Has there been a difference as far as pay for the teachers?
No, there's never any extra compensation, when it comes to that. Teachers are expected to do more with less. And, despite being in a pandemic, there aren't any extra, incentives or anything like that given to teachers.
Wow, that's man. Yeah, like you said, they was quick to praise you all last year. Let's big up the teachers and everything else. Hey, I always say it. I say it almost every episode. You can show me better than you can tell me. And one way you can do that is by giving me some incentives monetarily.
A little extra there, Marv.
Yeah, man. I mean, because you guys are doing some. Everybody talked about the essential workers and things of that nature there, but you guys, we've known that before the pandemic. Teachers were already getting underpaid. Teachers was already coming out of their pocket, but it's one of the most important jobs in the country.
Well, I mean, when you think about essential workers, I think Mr. Pallotta or someone else might have mentioned it, but in New Jersey, teachers just got the approval to be vaccinated, and so for the longest they weren't considered in that category of essential workers.
Essential workers.
And it's not to knock nurses, and because that is totally, you know what I mean. Absolutely, I get that, but I think teachers should be included with that as well too.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. All right, so did any of you guys have any things that you guys wanted to put out there to parents that, listen, help me help you? You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's really about the student. Is there any things that you guys can kind of put out there for some of the parents that might be watching that say, well, I want to help, but I don't really know how to help? What is it that I can do on my end at the house and helping you accomplish, my son or my daughter getting a better education?
There's a ton of resources out there for parents. Like Mrs. Tucker was saying earlier, that a lot of our kids, we know that this year is a difficult year. We know that there's going to be a lot of work that is going to need to have to happen in order to get our kids on grade level, if not above. So there's a lot of different resources that's out there that parents can use to get their kids to practice every day. For example, like CK12.org, that's a great website where, for math-wise, where students can watch a video as many times as they want. They get prerequisite videos and a prerequisite assessment, and then they can take a post-assessment to see if they mastered that standard. So that's just an example of what parents can do if they want their kids. They know their kids are behind. There's definitely resources that are out there. Especially tutoring. It's something that I was just working with administrators in Central New Jersey. There's a tutoring. I got to get back to you. I'll let you know, Marv, so you can let people know. But there's a tutoring app that students can use if they need any type of support. No matter what grade level, K to 12, that's out there. It's free, and it's 24 hours. I think is something that's for the nation. But it's something that another resource for parents.
Do they have anything as far as reading as well?
Oh yeah, reading too. That's what I'm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a friend that posted something last week asking about tutoring, so they'll be able to find all that kind of stuff on that particular website.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so shoot, make sure you get back to me so I can get that out there. Neil, I noticed that we talked about it on the last show and the wrap up, putting those resources out there. Like Neil with your math page, where you got all your different links to help out in math for the various different classes and stuff like that there. So I definitely want to get all that information together so we could put it on, I'll do a post as far as resources that can help and with our parents as well as teachers, because you guys might know some backdoor stuff that can help teachers that's not on the panel tonight. You know what I mean? It might be some information out there that could be useful for them as far as trying to help them better themselves in this new transition.
I can add on, definitely taking advantage of the online interventions, but my advice to parents would just to plan ahead and really set a schedule, set a routine. I know a lot of my parents are balancing their personal life with their career, and as far as helping with their children at school, it's like they're part-time teachers, and they come to me so stressed out, and I tell them, like, look, your mental health is more important than these grades, than their academics. You have to make sure that your mental is right. As far as the students too, if they're coming to school frustrated, they're not even going to be able to focus on the academic aspect of school. So planning ahead, setting that schedule, giving yourself breaks, not burning yourself out, feeling like you have to accomplish everything in one day or in 2 days. So, setting a day to say, this is what I need to do for the week, setting a time to do your personal business, setting time aside to help your children with their work, and, not letting yourself get overwhelmed. This is new to us and it's new to parents too. We're still learning each day, new things that are working and not working. So just making sure your mental health is good. I actually have an after school program. I'm graduating in when am I graduating? In May, with my master's in education.
All right.
Go into like, I want to be a vice principal or principal one day. And my project is on social and emotional awareness. So every 2 weeks I meet with kindergarten through 5th grade students, and we have a lesson each day about goal setting or positivity, the power of words, things like that, just so they can uplift themselves, encourage themselves. And I'm turning it into a book that is coming out in like a month or two. So I'm promoting that, and it's something that students can do just so they can, not get too burnt out with school and keeping their mental good. So yeah.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I have to come up there so we can celebrate.
Yes.
Hey, before we wrap up, but I got another comment here from Beverly. It said, did you all hear about the student in Baltimore that ranked near the top half of his class with a 0.13 GPA?
I heard about that, but I defer to my boy Leonard for that.
Is that accurate? A 0.13 GPA, and that's the top half of the class?
No comment.
Yeah, man.
Got nothing, man. What's going down here in Maryland, man? What's going on?
So it is definitely true. Then it's a real story.
What's going down here in Maryland, man?
Bro, that's tough. Oh, jeez.
Well, on that note, what you guys got on the wrap up? Everybody can go back around one more time, and anything that you want to share or put out there, take advantage of it.
Well, I'll start, and I'll just say just something for teachers, and it kind of goes back to something Ms. Tucker just mentioned when she was just speaking about her situation. For teachers, just make sure that you take time for yourself. Make sure in terms of for your students that you check in with your students. Like what I try to pride myself in doing at least once a week when I see my kids, like on the tail end of the week, is do what I call a wellness check. And I just usually take the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of class and just check in with them. How are you doing? I might ask them something random, like what's your favorite movie, or what do you plan on watching this weekend, or what's your favorite comfort food, whatever it is. But let them know, give them that time to escape. No matter whether they're elementary, middle school, secondary, they need that mental break at some point, or what I call a brain break during instruction, to kind of give them that outlet. So give them that time, but give yourself that time too, because it's important. Your mental health is important in this process too, so that you can be good for your students.
That's good, Leonard, because I remember in the airline industry, that's one of the first things that they teach you. You got to put your mask on before you can help somebody else. So that's great advice for the teachers out there. We need the best version of you to get the best results from our students. So thanks for that, El.
I just gonna piggyback on what he said. I have a lot, talk with because I work with teachers, so a lot of them say that they're burnt out now, and a lot of negative thoughts. And I always reply to them, just imagine how your students feel. So just being able to, the things that you do, believe me, it rubs off. Kids see everything. So it's important to have that social time. Like you said, 5 minutes. And, I was showing teachers a couple of different things they can do, some starters, like, for example, which one would you pick? 2 different pieces of candy. It don't have to be academic, 2 different pieces of candy, 2 different toys, 2 different movies, just to spark the conversation. What do you think about this TikTok dance? Things like that, so they can see, just to have a conversation that is non-academic, that can really loosen the atmosphere and to get them engaged. Because like Mrs. Tucker said, especially the younger kids, getting them engaged, because they could just drift off because they're not, I ain't gonna say parented, but no one's there to watch them, many of them. So, get them engaged, have them be a part of the lessons. And if you're burned out, your kids are burned out. So try to find things to keep them engaged.
And I couldn't find it on your page, man. What was that award that you just got? Big yourself up, man. What award did you get not too long ago?
Well, the one I reposted was Teacher of the Year, but then I was honored by the state about a couple of days ago for a program, a Saturday program. Being that we're a Title I school, created a Saturday program for our students in which we try to focus on our bubble students. We did 2 different cycles. First cycle was our bubble students, where we focus on part of it, academic, math, and ELA for test prep. And then we also added a social emotional part where we had clubs such as online gaming, paint and sip, woodwork, things that they would normally not get during the school day. We try to provide that for them, as well as programs or setting up guest speakers for the parents. You'd be amazed how many parents don't have an email. So for them to be able to gain access to get a working email, those are things that we put in place.
Gotcha. All right, congrats, Joe. What you got for us, Ed?
All right. I think that's going to be the phrase, you're muted. I mean, in addition to what's been said already, I think the only thing that I would add to that is for parents to continue to educate themselves on the vaccine, on the protocols when we do reopen schools, because I think that's going to be very, very important so that they understand what the expectations are. But a lot of that groundwork to start prepping the kids for when they come back, because at some point they will have to be back in some kind of formalized classroom, and that's going to be a huge transition. So all the information that's been talked about so far with regards to social emotional learning is beyond critical, because that's going to have to be addressed first, transition the kids back to a brick and mortar situation.
What about you, Miss Tucker?
I have 2 things that come to mind. So as far as teachers, us on the panel, just finding times for ourselves and being reflective over our day, not getting too stressed out and overwhelmed with what the day brings, because each day is different, right? You never know what's going to happen. And as far as parents, I would say reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to your students' teachers, and also finding a group of parents that you guys can connect with. I have some of my students' parents they live in the same neighborhood, so they have a group chat, and anytime they're frustrated or need someone to vent to or ask questions, they reach out to each other. So just having that community of parents to lean on is important.
Cool deal. And before we let the OG teacher, Mr. Neal, wrap up, I wanted to give a special shout out from one brother to another to both Ed and L, man. I want to let y'all know how really proud I am of you guys and how far you come. As one of the things that stuck with me as I watched the last show, Neal was saying how it is his words were, and I quote, a remarkable feat, for some of the kids that come out of Newark with all the obstacles that you have to overcome. And that's a true statement. Not to say that nobody else goes through, but we can attest firsthand we know that our school system in Newark is totally different than other places. Yeah, I mean, hands down, it's not even up for debate. You know what I mean? So I want to applaud you guys, man, for 20 years strong in education, man, making it out, but not just making it out and just hightailing it away and never giving back, but becoming a teacher, as you becoming a principal and still educating and doing your thing, man. Man, I'm so proud of you guys, man. I love you guys, man. I thank you guys for your contribution and giving back to the students, as well as I know all your students do. So I want to thank you guys, and my hat's off to you. Major salute, man. What you got, Ed?
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
No doubt. OG, Mr. Pallotta himself.
I I regret that I feel like I have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. To the administrators out there, Ed, Bobby, Leonard, and NyKia, Ms. Tucker, who's a budding administrator. When you guys are considering PD for your staff in the future, whatever you can do to try to increase awareness for the needs of students, as far as increasing empathy on the part of teachers, and compassion. Unfortunately, one of the things that I've seen during this pandemic, and you kind of alluded to it with the the whatever 0.13 GPA being in the top half, for whatever reason, I've just seen so many teachers lack compassion and empathy for the situations that these kids are going through during this pandemic. And it's extremely frustrating. And whatever you administrators can do to try to make that better. I don't know if you can increase the compassion and empathy in all of your staff. You would like to think that if you go into this field that you already have that, but unfortunately that's just not the case. And whatever you can do to make that better, I hope it's a priority.
Appreciate it, man. That's good. That's good right there, man. All right, so with that being said, I agree with you, Mr. Neal, and thank you. And I just shared what I had to say about Ed and Leonard, but Neal, you already know, man. We go all the way back, and I can never thank you enough for, again, not talking about it, but being about it. I thank you for all those times taking me bowling. Hey, Marv, come on, man. Let's get out. You know what I mean? Let's go support the girls' basketball team. You
Can't
know
do
what
that
I mean?
stuff anymore, Marv. I can't take kids home for the weekend.
Yeah, it's a different climate in these days, and we even talked about that. It's kind of it was a blessing for us, but it's sad that we could live in a time in a neighborhood where people could do that. You know what I mean? You could take kids home, their parents don't know where they at, and it's no big deal. But that's one thing I always thank you for. My mom always talk about it too. My mom always said, she always to this day asks me, how's Neal doing? How's Miss Pallotta? How is his family? Because she remember you did something that you didn't have to do, man. And it means the world to me. So I really want to thank you for all those times and taking it up. I want to thank Bobby too. Here you go again. Back in the Pretty Boy number 10 days. I want to thank Bobby too, because Bobby was out there in Union County, so he was pushing me. He was like my Magic Johnson, Magic and Larry. I had to see what Bobby did, so I know what I need to do on Saturday. So, but shout out, man, and congratulations again on that teacher. There you go, L, with the hot top fade. Hey, real quick, are you gonna be doing the Tia Talks every Tuesday?
No, not every Tuesday. She has different people on,
Okay.
So I may come back on on a different topic. So I'm working on something now regarding HBCUs. I didn't attend an HBCU, but I wanted to make it a point that my son did attend one. So I'm working on something now, an article for publication that should be out pretty soon. So I just gotta I'm doing some research now. And matter of fact, Elle, I'll probably reach out to you because I forgot you in Tuskegee.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Tuskegee, and shout out to the NBA. On a personal thing, I felt like they should have been doing it all along. But shout out to the NBA for all the money that they raised for the HBCUs this previous weekend with All-Star Weekend. Kudos to you, Adam Silver, and everybody else that was involved with that, man. But just know that just because All-Star Weekend is over doesn't mean that money can't stop flowing in, man, because these institutions are important in our community as well as a part of our country, the structure of our country, man. So shout out to all the HBCUs, all the professors, all the students, all the people that said, I'm not going to a necessarily D1, but I'm going to an HBCU. You know what I mean? Because that's major too, and that's a whole nother topic. But I would really like to see a lot more of our athletes doing that, turning down the scholarships to Clemson and going to support Dion. You know what I mean? And you know, it was once upon a time you didn't want us to let us in, so you know, let's get that funding over there where we need it at, and then we can have that right to go wherever we choose to go. We don't have to base it off of economic status, or if I go over here, I got better room and board and everything else. You know, all that stuff that goes into part of you making that decision to go to be a student. So, you know, shout out to everybody else that was contributing on that. As far as Kia, make sure y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna be putting it out there as well. For those of you who can follow her, you see her name on, I'll tag her in the show. Be on the lookout for her book. As when that comes out, we're gonna make sure we push that again and promote that. Let's support one another, man. Know that I love everybody on this panel, man. You guys are dear to my heart. I thank you guys for taking out the time to do this. And as usual, in signing off, until next week, I have my guest is Mitchell Blue. We're gonna have a good conversation. But until I see you next week, DeAndre and Light should know that Daddy loves you unconditionally, but I also love you intentionally. Peace.